Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. What if I told you after Jeremy Pruitt was fired? What if we rewind time? We go back. Josh Heupel has hired this program. Is at rock bottom. We're talking about 6-7 year rebuilds. What if I told you that within 4 years, Josh Heupel would have flipped this roster? He would have gone out and signed 5-star prospects like Nico Iamaleava, like Mike Matthews, like David Sanders, like Faison Brandon. What if I told you that in year 4 we would have made the college football playoff? Now, that doesn't mean this is the end of the story. This isn't the end of the journey. 10-2 in getting bounced in the first round of the college football playoff. That's not what we strive for. We want SEC championships. We want national championships. So what are your expectations as we roll into 2025? Because again, we didn't expect to be here in just 4 years, but now it's time to take that next step. Is 2025 the year that we can do that? Because as you roll around the internet, you see articles like this. Rocky Top Insider says ESPN snubs Tennessee in way too early playoff bracket projection. Now, Tennessee has lost a lot of veteran guys, right? Cooper Mays, Brew McCoy. How do you replace those guys in 2025? Do you take a step back? We're going to bounce around the internet. We're going to talk about it. Let's go take a look at Paul Finebaum. He made some comments about this football team rolling into 2025. This is an article from A to Z Sports. Says Paul Finebaum's comments on Tennessee football have Vols fans concerned about the 2025 season. Now, are you concerned about 2025? A lot of talk going into this year. Was 2024 the year? Was that the year? Nico's first year as a starting quarterback, but you were surrounded by a lot of veteran guys. Some people felt like 2025 was going to be the year that Tennessee could make a run for a college football playoff or a national championship. But here we sit after going 10-2. I think the loss to Ohio State has put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, and that game is really why some people are down on this team going into 2025. Let's see what Paul Finebaum had to say. This is written by Zach Reagan. SEC Network host Paul Finebaum made some comments on the Paul Finebaum show last week that have some Tennessee Vols concerned about the 2025 season. Tennessee is coming off of a 10-3 season that saw the program earn wins against Alabama and Florida while reaching the 12-team college football playoff. Now, we'll talk about Alabama and Florida here in just a second, but look at what Josh Heupel has done, again, in just 4 years. I mean, you're 4-0 inside Neyland Stadium against Alabama and against Florida. The previous coaches couldn't beat these teams no matter where you played them. Josh Heupel has flipped the script. I think we can turn a little momentum against Alabama in 2025. We got an opportunity to do that. Josh Heupel's got to go do something that he really has not done before. It goes on to say the ball season ended on a sour note thanks to a loss to the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus in the first round of the playoff, but it was still an incredibly successful season for Tennessee. Do you agree with that? Or do you disagree with that? Incredibly successful season. I would agree with that. I think 10-2 college football playoff. That's where we thought this team was. That's where this team ended up. It goes on, it says, despite the obvious upward trajectory of the UT football program under head coach Josh Heupel, Finebaum says experts are expecting the Volunteers to go through a transitional year in 2025. Most of the experts think Tennessee will go through somewhat of a transitional year, having lost so many key players, explained Finebaum. They still have Nico, the schedule. I don't think playing Syracuse, that game is in Atlanta. I mean, Syracuse is a much improved program, but I don't see a lot there. I think they can manage Syracuse. That Georgia game that is early, I think the games that would worry me are Georgia, at Alabama, and at Florida. Other than that, I think Tennessee can handle that schedule pretty well. Well, let's start here. Let's start with him talking about the loss of players on this football team in 2025. So many key players, right? You've lost Cooper Mays, enter William Satterwhite, or do you see Sam Pendleton? It'll be interesting to see what they do on the offensive line. You've got William Satterwhite that beat out Bison Lang. You've added Wendell Moy Jr. You've added Sam Pendleton. Do one of those guys look at center? I know Coach Jay talked a lot about Sam Pendleton's interview with VolQuest, where he said really he was focused on playing the guard position, but then Austin Price kind of put out a projected starting lineup on the offensive line. And he had Andrej Carrick at left guard. So does his waiver get approved? And if it does, do you see Sam Pendleton win out that center position? But again, Cooper Mays gone. Javonte Spraggins, a lot of complaining about Spraggins in 2024. John Campbell, a lot of complaining about John Campbell in 2024. So it reminds me of the secondary last year. It's easy to rattle off the veteran guys that we're losing, but those were the same guys that we were complaining about, the same guys that weren't keeping Nico clean. And there's a lot of talk about, well, we've not seen some of these young guys on the offensive line. Can David Sanders come in and lock down that right tackle position as a true freshman? You want to see the young guys? Let's see the young guys. Same goes for the wide receiver position. Rue McCoy, Dante Thornton, out of eligibility. Enter Mike Matthews, Chris Brazzell, Squirrel White, gone to FSU. Enter Braylon Staley. Maybe losing some of these key players, so to speak, will actually upgrade this roster. What say you? Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, it's your turn. Going to have a hard time replacing Dylan Sampson, but I think Peyton Lewis can be the guy. I think he's RB1 in 2025, and I get it. Deshaun Bishop has done some great things, but I think Peyton Lewis is going to show you this offseason what he's all about, and I think he wins that starting running back position. James Pierce, NFL draft. Joshua Josephs, next man up. Omar Norman-Lott, give me Jackson Moy. Will Brooks, I think we upgrade there with Jacoby Thomas. Keenan Peely, you got to play Jeremiah T-Lander now. So you've lost a lot of key pieces, but I think because of what Josh Heupel has done over the 4 years at Tennessee, recruiting in the transfer portal, I think next man up. I think we have finally started to add some depth and talent on this roster. Now, Paul Finebaum also mentions the schedule. So let's take a look at the schedule for next year, and I think this is a key part of it. Because Josh Heupel, I think this is a crossroads for Josh Heupel. He's got to do something in 2025 that he hasn't done before, and that is either beat the Georgia Bulldogs, go on the road to Alabama, go on the road to Florida and get a win. Because if you look at this schedule and you tell me that you feel like Tennessee goes 9-3 in 2025, it's kind of hard for me to argue that. Because you've not done it yet. You've not beat Georgia. You've not beat Alabama on the road. You've not beat Florida on the road. But I think this is a crossroads for Josh Heupel. I think he can take that next step. I think he can go beat Alabama on the road. I think he can go beat Florida on the road. But as you look at the schedule, the way it's laid out, we're basically playing the same schedule as last year. You're flipping the home and aways, and you're adding Syracuse, you're adding ETSU, you're adding UAB. I think Tennessee has an opportunity to go prove something and win 10 games in 2025. Now, is that a success? Is going 10-2 in 2025, is that a success, or is it another step? We got to take another step. I thought it was interesting. J.D. Pickell had some words to say talking about this Tennessee program in 2025. What do they have to do to put it all together? And watching his video, said some very interesting things. He said, what do you make of 2024? Said, if I told you before the year, 10-2, college football playoff, you would say, yes, I'm in, sign me up. Now, where do we go from there? What's next for Tennessee? We're going to get into his comments, but as always, I need you guys to do that YouTube stuff for me. Just smash the thumbs up just below the video. It's quick, free, easy. It helps the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if it's your first time here, welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're not journalists. We don't pretend to be that. What we are is exactly what you are. For the fans, by the fans. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. Going to be live every Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, playing EA Sports College Football, but talking all things Tennessee football. So come hang out for that. J.D. Pickell talked about how this defense in 2024, the defense that a lot of people were frustrated with, the defense that a lot of people were complaining about at the end of the year, said they were an A-plus unit, really good against the run, really good in points allowed per game, said the defense made up for the inefficiencies on offense, but he says, how can you put it all together? How can you put both of those things together? Let's go take a listen to what JD had to say.
I think when you talk about Nico, to me, it's more chiropractor technique than it is anything else. Like, I don't think that Nico's like all that far off. What was the one thing that us and Tennessee fans said for the majority of this season, whenever they played someone that was of a Power 4 opponent, hey, where's the deep ball? Where's the drop the top on the defense, the Jalen Hyatt vibes, someone just downfield. They got caught lacking because our run game has been so great all year, so then we hit them over the top and make them pay. Still ran the ball well. Nico still had, I would say, a good year. We have him as a top 10 quarterback coming back next year. But there wasn't that oomph. There wasn't that yes and. There was the yes. There's the yes with how they ran the football, yes with how they played defense, but there was never that and. And the curious thing, the concerning thing for me is I don't see the weapons as we sit here right now in January that make me think there is somebody that's going to help Nico elevate the way that I want him to elevate. Now, this is not an overall take on Tennessee for 2025. This is not me telling you what their win total is going to be. I think Tennessee's got a chance to be okay, but I need to.
So we're talking about, 2024, and we're talking about missing out on the deep ball. We're talking about wide receivers not getting separation. And then on the flip side, I don't see any talent around Nico. There's no talent around Nico. So would we rather have Brew McCoy and Dante Thornton and Squirrel White back, or are we ready to see some young blood? Are we ready to see the Mike Matthews and Chris Brazel in year 2? I think he has a big opportunity. Are we ready to see Braylon Staley? Are we ready to see Boo Carter on offense? So if it didn't work in 2024, why are we going to be so concerned that it's not back in 2025? When we talk about weapons, when we talk about the wide receivers, we talk about not getting separation. There's been conversations about Nico meeting with the coaching staff. What are we going to do on offense? How are you going to surround me? What's the offensive line going to look like? What's the wide receiver room going to look like? We've seen the speculation that Mike Matthews, when he was teasing entering the transfer portal, that he showed up. What are we going to do? I want to see an explosive offense. I came here because I saw what this offense did in 2022. I saw Jalen Hyatt running free against Alabama. What are we going to do to get back to that? Mike Matthews apparently liked the answers that he got. Nico apparently liked the answers that he got. And I think it starts with protecting Nico. And that's when we talk about the transfer portal and the guys around Nico. Maybe it's not the sexy position. Maybe it's not the wide receivers. Maybe it's those big uglies. Maybe it's those offensive linemen. Maybe it's adding Sam Pendleton. Maybe it's adding Wendell Moore Jr. that makes this offense click. You missed the deep ball? Well, how about you protect me long enough to get the deep ball out? Let's start there in 2025. So if the guys didn't work out in 2024, why don't we just roll them back out there in 2025? Let's see some new blood. Let's see some young blood. Let's see Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley.
To see some of these receivers elevate. And you see somebody step up, because for Joe Milton, that was the thing we said when he was playing quarterback. Hey, Joe Milton's doing his best out there, but I don't see anybody separating outside of a Squirrel White. Squirrel White is gone. Dante Thornton is gone. Brew McCoy is gone. You got some guys in that receiver room, but a lot, I think, when it comes to, there's a lot of unproven production, I would say, within that room. So if Josh Heupel in Tennessee do find a way to duplicate success and they go win 10 games next year, 11 games next year, make the playoff, at that point in time, I'd be very, very nervous if I were the rest of the SEC because of what I just said.
Can Tennessee go win 10 games? Can they go win 11 games? What are your expectations for 2025? If Tennessee does take a step back, if Tennessee loses to Georgia, they lose to Alabama and Florida on the road, they go 9-3 and they don't make the college football playoff, are you all out on Josh Heupel? Or are you watching what he's doing in the class of 26 in recruiting? Maybe it's the class with Faison Brandon and Tristan Keys and some of those guys. Maybe that's the class that goes and wins an SEC championship, a national championship. Very interesting year for Josh Heupel coming up in 2025. What are your thoughts? Jump in the comment section. Let's talk about it. As always, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. You can also support the channel by hitting that join button right down below. $1 a month. We ask that you give $1 a month. It keeps the lights on. It keeps this channel moving forward. Allows us to bring you Tennessee football coverage all day, every day, right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. You can also support by picking up the Talkin VAWLS merchandise at bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. All the links to do that are in the description below, but that is going to do it for this one. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.